What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Twilight 9 podcast. This is episode 24. I'm your host, Riley. What's going on, guys? We got a bunch of stuff to talk about this week. We have 2 tournaments to recap. Farmers Insurance Open is this week out in San Diego. We're finally starting to get into the swing of the main PGA Tour schedule. Florida swing coming up soon. The rest of the California tournaments, Waste Management, Phoenix Open is coming up. But a couple tournaments to recap. Going over the Farmers Insurance, the field is loaded. Jon Rahm's back. Rory's making his PGA Tour year debut. Brooks Koepka's in the field. Tony, Jordan Spieth is here. But yeah, there's a bunch of guys in the field. So we got that to go over. Going to recap our bets and then, do our classic wind up of the show with all the betting information that you guys need for the week. As I'm recording this episode right now, DraftKings has not released their full lineup of bets. The only things that I can see, I actually just refreshed it now that I'm looking at my computer, and they just now have top 20. So we're going to go over that kind of stuff. But I more kind of wrote down in my notes guys to look at, stats to look at, that kind of stuff every week, but even more this week just because they haven't released the full top 30, top 40, but those will be included obviously on the betting blog posted to Twilight 9 Wednesday late morning with the final card and all that kind of stuff. But before we get into the American Express recap, one headline, and it is tough news. It actually came out, I think, the day that the last episode was published. So last Tuesday, I think it was. Tiger Woods is out indefinitely because of a 5th back surgery. Microdiscectomy procedure, if I pronounce that right. It was to remove a pressurized disc fragment that was pinching a nerve. I don't know what I'm talking about there or pronouncing those words right, but that's what it was for. He's going to be out at least 2 months, including this week's Farmers, including the Genesis, and he's kind of like a title sponsor for both of those events. Obviously, he's won at Torrey 8 times, so that's going to be a bummer, especially at the Genesis. I love him at the Genesis. That's a great tournament, another field that's usually loaded, so that's tough. Sources close to Tiger said that he hopes to be ready to go by the Masters. The doctors that performed the surgery said that it went very, very well and expect Woods to make full recovery. So that's very good news on that front. But again, it's a bummer that he's going to be out even just a week, just because you never know how his back is going to react to anything. So that's definitely a bummer. In Abu Dhabi, Rory, I don't know if it was during an interview or press conference or something. I guess Rory's known for a while. He's known since the last week of December. And apparently Tiger's really good. He's been doing really good. He's already kind of taken like half swings with wedges, according to the Golf Channel guy. I forget his name. But his buddy there. What's his name? Noda. But we'll see Tiger, hopefully for the Masters. He's got to go to Augusta National. The Masters definitely isn't the same thing without Tiger. So that would be a bummer if he can't play in the Masters, but I think he'll be good. He bounces back pretty well, as we saw a couple years ago at the Tour Championship. But that's it for headlines. So let's get into the American Express recap. Siwoo Kim gets his 3rd PGA Tour victory. He played phenomenal golf down the stretch, tied it on 16, won it on 17, parred 18 coming in. This is his 3rd win, like I said, and if you guys don't know that name, which most of you probably do, he was the youngest player to ever win the Players' Championship in Jacksonville at TPC Sawgrass. That was in 2017. I think he was 21 at the time. He joins a very short list of international players to get 3 PGA Tour victories before turning 20 or 25 and younger. I think there's only like 6 or 7 guys on the list, and Siwoo Kim's one of them. So he's racking them up. It's just funny because he shot 66, 67, and 64 at the Stadium course. One of the rounds was at the Nicklaus course, which plays easier, but that was his worst round of the week, was actually at the Nicklaus course. So he shot that and didn't make a bogey the entire time. It just goes to show, and I saw a tweet about this, how much golf has changed, right? In 1987, Tom Watson was quoted saying, "I'm sick and tired of these courses. It requires you to execute shots that no sane golfer should be expected to play." And under 40 years later, we're at a point where Siwoo Kim shoots 66, 67, 64 and doesn't make a bogey at that same exact golf course that Watson was talking about. And Watson is an all-time great. And it's crazy that that's where golf is now, but that's what it is. And golf, last year at this tournament, he shot an 87 that included a 9, 2 8s, and 2 6s. And then he comes back the next year and wins the tournament by a stroke. Crazy. Like I said, birdie the par 5 16th to take the lead, then hit it to 18 feet on 17, which 17 is, I wasn't super familiar with the stadium course. I knew a little bit of information about the design and all that kind of stuff. I didn't really know about 17, and that is one of the more intimidating greens I think I've ever seen. It's a little bit bigger once you get down to the green, but from the tee, it looks like sawgrass. Like, it is surrounded by water, rocks. It looks tiny from their vantage point, especially because they're going down on it, so that makes it even look smaller. But he puts it to 18 feet, drains it to take the one-shot lead, and then parred 18 for the win. Crazy. For the week, he was 10th in strokes gained off the tee, 2nd in approach, and 8th on the green. So when you're top 10 in everything for the week, you're going to finish high. And he was first tee to green. So when you combo first tee to green strokes gained and 8th on the greens, that's very hard to beat that. So Siwoo Kim was just lights out. So he gets his third win. The surprise of the weekend, just because how low he was, Patrick Cantlay had a monster weekend. He made the cut on the number and then went 65 and 61 over the weekend to finish solo second. And he was like in the lead for part of Sunday. He was playing ridiculous golf. His scorecard on Sunday was like nauseating to look at, that somebody can play that good of golf. Since 2010, there have only been 3 players to win a tournament after making the cut on the number, and Cantlay would have made the 4th. I think Rory won at Quail Hollow, making the cut on the number. I forget the other 2. It's been a while. It's been like 8 years, I think, since that happened. But man, what a finish. He made 20 birdies over the weekend. He was 5th in strokes gained off the tee, 5th in strokes gained tee to green, and then 3rd in strokes gained putting. So again, top 5 week in putting and tee to green. You're going to have a huge week, and he did. The last 2 days, actually. He didn't play great the first 2 days, but he got it going on the weekend. It was crazy. Next guy we have to talk about, Tony Finau. And he's already notoriously a guy that plays really well the first 3 days of the tournament and then just kind of chokes it away on Sunday. And sometimes it's not even a choke. Sometimes it just, he'll shoot under par, but it's just not good enough for whether that's the course that they're playing that week or the guys in the field or whatever. But Tony is just continuing to add to his mystique of being a guy that just can't get it done in the 4th round. He entered the 4th round of the golf tournament, tied for the lead with guys, I think Siwoo Kim was one of them, and then Max Homa was the other one, which I'll talk about after that. Since the start of the 2016-2017 season, Tony has the most top 10s without a win, and he has 34 top 10s since 2016-2017 started that season. The next closest is 16. He has almost double, and that 16 actually Tommy Fleetwood. And I think there's a couple other guys in there, but ridiculous. And he's entered the 4th round of a golf tournament in the lead or tied for the lead 18 times. He's only won once. Crazy. It doesn't make any sense that Tony Finau only has one PGA Tour victory. I don't know if I can say that enough. The guy finishes, as the stats back up, in the top 10, top 20 every single week, and he's won one time. And it's not like he's just backdooring these like Rory used to and still does kind of. But he's right there at the top of the leaderboard and then just cannot get it done on Sunday. So I don't know what it is. He missed 2 putts inside 4 feet on Sunday. He shot 4 under. Like, he had a solid round of golf. But when Cantlay is shooting 10 under, 11 under, and then you got other guys like Siwoo Kim, bogey-free 8 under on Sunday, like, you have to keep up with those guys. And he just didn't. He fell way short, and he finished solo 4th. So another good week, another top 5, another top 10. But Tony's got to get it done one of these times because he's so notorious at doing this. It was the least surprising thing of all time that he just didn't win. It was insane. And then my guy, Max Homa. I like watching Max Homa play golf. He's got a sweet swing, so fundamental. Just right to the top, in the slot, on the way down, plays a little baby cut most of the time. He's just got a beautiful swing. He was playing some serious golf during the first 3 days. I think he went through a stretch where he had like a double and a triple, and he still played 9 under through that like 20-something hole stretch. It was just crazy, crazy good golf. But the final round, he didn't have it on Sunday. He shoots a final round 76. I think he even finished outside the top 20. I think he was T21. So that's tough going into the 4th round, leading the tournament, thinking you at least have a locked up top 5, and then you finished outside the top 20. So that's tough for Max, but he's actually in the field. We're going to talk about him later for the Farmers Insurance because he's in the field in San Diego this week. And I think I kind of like him. He seems very motivated to get better. Like, he's grinding he stopped doing, he can do the swings out anyway on Twitter because he's super funny. But he kind of stopped doing that kind of stuff and focused more on just getting better at golf. And it showed this week because he was on. He's rolling it. He uses the same putter, I believe, that JT had, that Scotty with the fangs on the back of it. He has one of those, I think. But he was rolling it. The swing looks really, really good. His coach actually just won PGA Coach of the Year 2020, I think. So he's working with a really good guy, Mark Burnell, I think his name is. So he was just playing really good golf. It was good. It was good to see. Best bets. So, or bets wise for the week for the Amex, and we'll go over the Abu Dhabi bets. We came close to a huge week this week. We hit Answer top 20 finally. He finished T5. I was worried he was outside the top 20 at some point on Sunday, even on Saturday, I think, but then he had a really good final round. So that was hit that for plus 163. And then Taylor Gooch had a huge Saturday and then a solid Sunday, and he finished inside the top 25. He T21'd, and we got top 40 plus 125. Didn't hit any other ones, so that was a bit of a bummer if we didn't hit some Abu Dhabi bets, but we did. But we needed Hadwin to birdie the last hole, and he would have finished in the top 20, which would have been huge because that was like plus 300, I think. And then he ended up making bogey, which sucked. But that would have been plus 300. And then Landry shot plus 4 over the weekend after 2 solid rounds of golf on Thursday and Friday. Shot plus 4 over the weekend and took himself right out of the top 40. That didn't really have any chance. Like, he just could not get anything going over the weekend. So that was always kind of like out of the picture. I thought Hadwin had a shot just because he had a great final round, a shot for birdie. He just needed birdie on his last hole, and we would have hit it, but he didn't. Abu Dhabi, Hatton gets the win. I'm not great. I don't feel great about reporting that news. I like Terrell Hatton, but my guy was leading after 3 rounds, which I'll get to in a second. He moves to 5th in the world golf rankings. Ridiculous that people are still taking, like, people don't talk about Terrell Hatton that much, and it's crazy that they don't talk about him. He's just winning golf tournaments. After missing the cut, at the US Open, he has 2 wins, a T3, a T7, and a T8. 2 top 10s, a top 5, and 2 wins since missing the cut at the US Open at Winged Foot. Crazy golf that this guy's playing. He's ranked over Rory right now. He's ranked over Brooks Koepka right now. Like, Terrell Hatton is making moves in the world golf rankings and just the world of golf in general. People got to start paying attention because he won the Arnold Palmer. He won this. He won the BMW Championship on the Euro Tour. Like, the guy's playing some golf. Shot a final round 6 under, 1 by 4 shots. So congratulations, Terrell Hatton. On to my guy, Rory. Played phenomenal golf on Thursday, or technically Wednesday night, because the time difference. They finished Thursday morning though. Ridiculous golf on Thursday. Everything was working. The putting stroke looked fantastic. The iron play was really good. Friday wasn't good. I think he shot even par. Then Saturday he went very good again. His game just looked very complete. But like Rory, he's in the lead, 1-stroke lead heading into Sunday, and then he shot an up and down even par, ended up losing by like 6 or something like that. In the last 14 years, he has finished inside the top 5 13 times in his year debut. So the first tournament of the year, right, in 2021 was this one. He hasn't played in 2021 before this. This was, his first appearance in 2021. Top 5. He's done that 13 times in the last 14 years. He loves the start of the season. Not even the start of the season. Start of the calendar year. Loves it. But he's never won. Top 5 13 times, he's never won. So, and he's another one. He's not on Finau's level, but Rory's got to start closing some of these tournaments. He closed the Players, but he didn't even do that in like convincing fashion. Like, it was kind of like needed to put his training wheels on, and then he kind of got it going at the end of the round. But he's got to start learning how to close more tournaments too, because he's got to start winning a lot more. He hasn't won since late 2019, I think. So we're coming on like over a year since his last win. He's coming into, and we'll talk about him later, but he's coming into a section of the schedule that he really, really likes. So I'm hoping for a win. Let's just say early April. But we won our bet with Rory that I said on the show. I said top 5, he top 5. So we hit that for plus 150. And then we hit Tommy Fleetwood top 10 for plus 138. And then we ended up losing the Victor Perez bet top 20. Didn't hit. He was kind of lurking right around the top 20. I think he entered Sunday inside the top 20. He was like T16, and then he shot a final round 4 under. So that killed that. That would have been huge going 3 for 3 in Abu Dhabi. But that plus 150 and plus 138 on top of the bets that we had for the Amex, we were up plus 0.76 units over the weekend, which isn't great. Not winning a bunch of money. If all those bets were $100 bets for you, you won $76. So a little over. Little in the green, but I mean, it's better than losing money. So there you go. But hopefully we can kind of get it going here. We're going to, I don't think I'm going to talk about it on the show just because I might take a little bit of a quick look. I haven't really looked at the Dubai Desert Classic yet. That's another tournament over on the European Tour that is loaded with guys this week. So that'll be featured in the blog come Wednesday. But as I have DraftKings up on my computer right now, right in front of my face. So I might take a look at it here in a second after we go over the Farmers Insurance Open. So let's do it. Back in San Diego. And it's interesting because we're at Torrey Pines, north and south. Obviously, the field will play north or south, either Thursday or Friday, because they switch the courses. And then for the weekend, the south. So you play 3 rounds at the south course. And if you guys don't know, the U.S. Open this year in a couple months is at Torrey Pines South. So this is kind of a good look at what the course is going to kind of look like. They're growing out the rough. They're shrinking the fairway. So these guys are here. Obviously, they want to win this golf tournament because that's why they're here, but they're also here to prepare for the bigger prize, which is the U.S. Open coming in a couple months. And we'll talk about one big name missing that I think is very interesting. He's not playing this week. Last year, Mark Leishman shot a final round 65, 7 under and beat out John Rahm by a stroke. In 2019, Justin Rose outperformed another stacked field and beat Adam Scott by 2 shots. So a lot of big name guys win this golf tournament. Tiger, of course, has won it, 7 times? Jason Day's won it a couple times. Sneds has won it a couple times. Sneds has a ridiculous record at this golf course, like a crazy record. So he's definitely going to be a guy to look at, especially since his odds are like crazy to win. But he'll be another guy to look at. Let's go over the field. After a WD last week for no reason, there was no reason given. I mean, I guess he doesn't really need to give a reason. John Rahm is back at a course where he's seen a lot of success. He has a win here. He has a T5 here, and he has a solo second at this golf course. So he likes Torrey Pines. It kind of fits. He can hit it a long way. We'll go over all this in a little bit, but he hits it a long way. And then when the weather picks up, he has the wedge game and the short game to kind of get up and down when you start missing a lot of greens in regulation. So it kind of makes sense. He's just an all-around fantastic golfer. But my guy's also back, like I just said. Rory McIlroy making the long trip from Abu Dhabi to San Diego to make his 2021 PGA Tour debut. And he's coming off, although he blew the win, I guess you could say, on the Euro Tour, he's coming off a nice finish. I mean, solo third, that's not bad. And has grabbed top 5s in his last 2 appearances at this event. So he's also seen very good success. Last year, the weather was good, so that when the weather's good, it kind of turns into just a long drive competition at Torrey Pines. So that could be one of the reasons why Rory came in the top 5, because he's one of the longest guys on tour. But he's going to be another guy to target for us later in the show just because of his recent form, plus his recent history at this golf course is very good. So those 2 things, we're going to look at that for sure. Other big names in the field, Matty Wolf's back, Xander, who we're definitely going to target. I don't know how much I'm going to talk to him about him on the show, but he will definitely be on the cards somewhere when the blog drops on Wednesday. Brooks Koepka's here, Tony Finau, Ricky Fowler, among a bunch of others. Like I said, Jordan Spieth in the field, all those guys. So the field's loaded. 2 courses. North course is a par 72, little over 7,200 yards. It's the scorecard yardage. It's definitely the easier of the 2 courses. The boys are definitely going to have to take advantage of this golf course. In a 2016 redesigned, bunkers were taken out, greens were made larger, and that's because the South is so tailored to the best players in the world because they host a tournament every year. They're in the U.S. Open rotation. They made the North course. They wanted to include it obviously on the same property, but they wanted the North course to be more of a public, everyday golfer-friendly golf course, and it makes a lot of sense when you can have 2 birds with 1 stone, right? 2 great golf courses, one for public, one for the big boys. So it's a little bit easier. The guys can really go low here. So they have to take advantage of that round on Thursday or Friday when they can shoot a low score at the North course. South course is a par 72 monster at 7,800 yards. It's a beast. The redesign included an addition of 500 yards. Fairway bunkers were scattered all throughout the golf course. But kind of in Reese Jones fashion, the layout's like kind of boring. With such a cool location for the property, right? You have the coastline right there. You're in San Diego, California. The routing is pretty boring. The holes are just straight, thin, and long. Like, that's it. You just go back and forth, and it's just long hole after long hole into a tight fairway with rough up to your ankles. So it's tough. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of Torrey Pines South. I don't really like the golf course, but some of the guys do, some of the guys don't. It's one of those courses on tour that's kind of, it's 50-50 whether guys really like this golf course, but we'll see. With the long rough, you might think, and the tight fairways, you think driving accuracy is very much needed at this golf course. It kind of, I mean, obviously hitting fairways is always going to be important, but because they're so skinny, because they're so thin fairways, it affects everybody, right? Even if you have a guy that hits 75% of fairways, having them even thinner, that's going to affect him, because you don't get the every once in a while where you hit the rough, it comes back, whatever. You don't get those. So it's whether, when you get into that conversation, it's whether you want a guy hitting from the rough with a wedge or a guy with a 7-iron, right? That's why driving distance is going to be huge this week. POA greens at both golf courses, which are a little bit unique just because not a lot of guys are used to playing POA. Not a lot of them grew up on POA. By the end of the day, they're a little rough, a little bumpy. Putting kind of goes out the window just because it's tough. When the greens get bumpy like that and they're not rolling true, it's kind of just a shit show of who makes putts and who doesn't, right? If somebody gets an unlucky bounce, it's not going in. So POA greens, and then the weather this week, adding a little, just because, looking at the weather might help a little betting. So we're going to add a little weather segment now. Thursday, 40% chance of rain, 14-mile-an-hour winds. Friday, 70% chance of rain, 14-mile-an-hour winds. Saturday, 10% chance of rain, 9-mile-an-hour winds, mostly sunny. Sunday, no rain, 10 miles an hour. So it's going to be kind of a luck to the draw, right? You don't want south on Friday. You don't want south on Friday just because of that weather. And it's a bummer just because, as I'm recording, we don't know tee times and groupings and all that kind of stuff. That might come into play on Wednesday when we have all that information. Like, you might not want to target a guy that has to play south on Friday just because the weather looks like it's going to be shitty, right? 14-mile-an-hour winds plus rain, definite rain. That's tough. So we're going to, dabble that into the conversation when it comes to Wednesday when the betting article comes out. Key stats, I already said it. Driving distance is going to be huge. Aside from Sneds in 2016, all recent past champions can move it, right? Leishman can move it. That was last year. John Rahm is a past champion, recent past champion here. Jason Day, all those boys can move it. So the narrow fairways, like I said earlier, affect everybody. So when you can get it down there further and have wedge out of the rough instead of 6-iron, instead of 7-iron, even instead of 8-iron, that's a huge advantage if you can pick up 30 yards on the rest of the field. So that's why bombers usually have a good time here. Data golf information. Course fit, south. We're just going to cover south just because that's where most of the rounds are played. So course fit, south. Number one is Harding Park GC. So where we played the PGA Championship in 2020, Colin Morikawa won it. That's number one. Number two, stadium course, where we were last week, which is not surprising because when we did the course fit for Data Golf last week, this one was one of the ones for stadium course. And then number three is Trump National Doral, which is also not surprising because that was one to stadium course last week. So Harding Park GC, that's going to be big because course comparison, you can see how they did at Harding Park, see how they went around, and maybe use that. Trending of the players in the field. Number one, Xander Schauffele. His last three starts are a T17, a T17, and a T5. He's still on a stretch of playing ridiculous golf since pretty much the restart. He's a native kid. He grew up in San Diego, grew up in California. He's going to be the biggest storyline. I talked about it in the show when we covered all of the majors, and I predicted all the major winners. He's going to be the biggest storyline going into the U.S. Open at Torrey Pines, and he should be one of the favorites as he is heading into this week. And he's number one on trending, so you could use that also. John Rahm is a T2, T7, and T7 also. He's second in trending. And then number three is my guy, Rory, T17, T5, and 3. So he's trending in the right direction. He's going to be a really, really big name to look out for this week. Am I biased? Sure, but whatever. Percent chance to win, baseline, course history, course fit, all that kind of stuff. John Rahm is number one at 13.5%. Rory McIlroy is 9.3%. And Xander Schauffele is 6.8% to win. Betting odds. Let's go over some betting odds. The outright favorite, as he should be, even though WD last week, is Jon Rahm at plus 710. All this is on DraftKings like it always is. Rory McIlroy plus 875. Xander Schauffele plus 1200. Tony Finau plus 1700. Harris English is going to be a very interesting guy to look out for this week. He's coming off a win at the Sony. He made a start after that, but he's been playing some very, very good golf, and he has not recently good history, but back in the day, he had some high finishes at this golf course, so he's definitely going to be named to watch. He's plus 2,200. Matsuyama's plus 2,500. He's coming off a week where his iron play, his tee to green numbers were crazy good, and then he can't putt. So, but on polo greens, we'll see. Patrick Reed, another guy to watch. We're going to bring him up in a second. He's plus 2,500. Victor Hovland, insane iron player. He's plus 3,050. Matty Wolff, plus 3,400. Jason Day, who has won this tournament 1,000 times, is plus 3,500. Billy Horschel is plus 3,500. Scotty Scheffler's down there. Siwoo Kim's there. You don't get to Brooks Koepka until plus 3,600. 3,650, actually. So he might be, when you can get Brooks at a value pick at a golf course that you need to bomb it, seems pretty obvious, but we'll see. Sungjae Im is kind of getting disrespected, I think. He's playing a bunch of good golf, and he's still way down on the leaderboard, plus 3,650. That's crazy value for him. And then the reigning champion of the Farmers Insurance Open, you don't get to until plus 4,150. So there is insane value even further down this leaderboard, and that helps just because the field's loaded. But we're going to bring up a guy in a second like Cameron Davis is plus 7,000 to win this thing. Griot's playing good golf, plus 7,000. So there's just a bunch. There is so much value this week, which I love. So let's get into it. Let's talk some guys to watch, talk some bets that I'm already thinking about. You guys already have the information, go over some bets, and then we'll wrap it up. So right now we're going to start with a guy that we actually made money with last week at the American Express, and that's Taylor Gooch. We bet him top 40, plus 125, hit him with a T21. Of the 14 players in this field that have gained over a stroke per round on the South Course, minimum 12 rounds. So you got to play a lot of golf at the South Course, and you have to be good at it. Taylor Gooch is one of those guys in the field this week that has gained, on average, a stroke per round, which is huge when you're dealing with a course that's that long, that tough. That's big to be in that conversation. He's coming off a T21. He top 5 tier in 2019. He finished T3, and he's 13th on tour and trending. So he's right up there at the top of the list. So he's top, I think, 10 trending in the field this week. They don't have odds for top 30s or top 40s. He's so far down on the list that I think you could probably bet him again for a top 40 and get some pretty damn good value when the odds come out, because I didn't see, even when I got to plus 7,000, I'm going to look on my computer for a second, but even when I got down to that section of the board, I didn't even see his name yet. So if you take into account that, I mean, you're going to be able to get some serious value for Taylor Gooch. Yeah, plus 8,500 to win. So you're probably going to be able to get a top 40 for like plus 130, plus 140, something like that. So that's probably going to be one to definitely look at just because of his history at the South Course, and he's playing good golf right now. So we'll see about Taylor Gooch. Rory McIlroy, got to talk about my guy. I think I'm going to bet him this week top 10. Back-to-back top 5s at this event. He's coming off a T3 in Abu Dhabi, and he loves the start of the season. The first 3-4 months of the season are Rory's favorite part of the year. Until the Players was starting at the Farmers last season, right? Starting at the Farmers Insurance Open. Up until the Players was canceled, he played in 4 events in that span. He finished T3, T5, solo 5th, tied for 5th. Loves the start of the season. Coming off a T3, has back-to-back top 5s at this golf course, at this event. You can get plus 125 for a top 10 for him this week. I'm going to take that. I think that's pretty good value for a top 10 for him. If you want to get it, if you like him enough after all of that, I think you can get him plus 225 for a top 5. Might even want to think about that, but I think I'm just going to stick with the top 10, I think. Another guy that had a really good week last week, up until the 76 on Sunday, and that's Max Homa. Had a great week. Ball striking week was phenomenal. Putted pretty well. Last year at this event, he finished in the top 10, T9. He seems to be, like we talked about at the jump of the show, he seems to be very motivated. Like he wants to play good golf right now. He's out there practicing. His mindset seems a little different. He looked very focused out there. I'm not saying he doesn't normally look focused, but he looks like he's just in another zone. I think he can bounce back in this spot, and I don't even need to like, you're not even bouncing back, really. You're bouncing back off of one bad round. You played great all week. You were co-leading after 54 holes. Like, you had a good week, a good tournament in a spot where he's coming off of a top 10 at this event and he's playing good. You can get probably pretty good value for him with a top 30 or top 40 once all the numbers come out. If I can find him really quick, I don't know. He might even be further down on the list than Gooch is, to be completely honest. He's underneath Gooch. I'm scrolling through it right now. Plus 11,000 to win this golf tournament. Coming off a top 25 finish, 54-hole leader, top 10 last year, like, you're going to be able to get crazy good value for a top 40 there. So I think I'm going to bet on Max again. Max kind of hurt me a little bit last season because I kind of bet on him a couple tournaments in a row, and I think I only won once. But with all of that combined, it's my guy. I think you can get him top 30, top 40. Probably lean toward top 40, but I like him in that spot. And then a guy, before I go over a couple guys quickly, a guy that I think is in for a really good week is Patrick Reed. I think he's in for a big week. He missed the cut at the American Express. He kind of went through a pattern last year where he was like bad tournament, good start, bad tournament, good start. It was really strange. He had a really tough Friday. But with the weather that's projected, when you get those first 2 days, and obviously we don't know what day he's playing South, but at a long course like South, when the wind starts picking up, it's going to be colder, right? It's going to only be low 60s, high 50s all week. Greens are going to start getting missed in regulation. You're going to have to start getting up and down. His short game is ridiculous. He can get up and down from anywhere, and he has good history here. His last two finishes here are a T6 in 2020 and a T13 in 2019. So he's not the longest guy on tour, but his wedge game and his short game is phenomenal. He's one of the best putters, even though, on POA, it's kind of a crapshoot. But I think Patrick Reed, just because of his short game and with the weather we're going to get the first 2 days, I think Patrick Reed is in for a really good week. So if you can get good value for him for a top 20, I think I would jump on that. Right now, he sits at plus 2,500. He's number 7. He's the 7th favorite. So for a top 20, he's going to be plus money for sure. He'll be plus 160 probably for a top 20. I think I would take that. I like Patrick Reed this week. If you like him enough after all that, he's plus 300 for a top 10. But I just think he can bounce back from the American Express. He's a very tough kid, obviously. And his short game is disgusting. So I think he can be dangerous around Torrey Pines. But getting into some of the other guys, I would honestly look at last year's champion, Mark Leishman. He can still move it. He's getting a little disrespect with his odds. He's way down there on the list, but I think he can have a really solid week. He had a really good showing at the Sony Open. I think he top 5'd at the Sony, so he's been playing good golf. Returns to a course where he's the defending champion. That's a recipe for probably a top 30, top 20 finish, so that's another guy I would look at. Jason Day is ridiculous at this golf tournament. He won in 2015 and 2018 as a runner-up finish in 2014. He had a T5 and a T16 in the last 2 years. Like, all he does is top 20 in this tournament, and you're going to be able to get plus odds for him for a plus 20. Even a top 30 or top 20 rather. Top 30, you might even be able to get plus odds with him because he's at plus 3,400. So we'll see. He has a T7 and T12 in 2 of his last 3 starts too. So he's been playing some pretty decent golf of late. Combine that with his insane form at Torrey Pines, he could be a guy to look at. And Cameron Davis is another guy. Cameron Davis hits the shit out of the golf ball, which is huge at Torrey Pines. He's 10th on tour in driving distance. I think that was last year, or it might be actually current stat. He shot 66, 64 over the last weekend at the Stadium course. He finished in 3rd place. He's been knocking on the door. I bet actually last season I had him on the card a couple times, and he actually won me money, I think, both times. This is a spot I think that he could be dangerous. He's plus 5,500 going into the week. I think that he could top 30, even top 20. I think you could definitely get him that for, just because when you can hit the ball as long as he can, and he does it pretty accurately too, and coming off a hot weekend at the closest or the second closest course comparison to Torrey Pines South, I think that's huge. So Cameron Davis will definitely be in the cards in some fashion on Wednesday, so definitely look into that. And then I saw a bunch of people are talking about this guy just because his odds are so damn low. Brent Snedeker is getting disrespected at a golf course that he's won at a lot. He was plus in the 10,000, I think, in that range, somewhere in there. I don't know. I haven't plus 16,000 on DraftKings as I'm looking at it right now. He dominates this event. Since 2010, he has won it twice. He has 2 runner-ups and 3 other top 10, not including any of those. So all he does is finish in the top 10, and he tied for 3rd last season. So even though he can't hit the ball a long way like a Cameron Davis or a Jason Day or a Rory McIlroy, he just is able to kind of just plot himself around this golf course. He knows it very well. He's a great putter. He has a great short game. He's a good game when it gets windy, when the weather's not great. He can still turn it on. He's a guy that is definitely going to be on the card for a top 40, especially since you're probably going to be able to get crazy good value for him just because he's plus 16,000 on DraftKings. Crazy for a guy that has had that success at Torrey Pines. So what is that? That's 2 wins, 2 runner-ups, and 3 other top. That's crazy numbers. 7 top 10s since 2010. Insane. So definitely look into Brandt Snedeker for a top 40, top 30, something like that. However you like him. But he's definitely going to be on the card when it comes to on twilight9.com Wednesday, late morning. But that's it, guys. That's all we got. Make sure the show is growing, and I love to see it. It's so cool to watch. I'm starting to get messages through the Instagram. We're going to start I brought this up a while ago, and then it never really kicked off. But since the show is growing and in a place that we can actually do this on a regular basis, we're going to add, starting next week, we're going to add a listener picks segment where it's either going to be I'll have somebody send me an audio file and I'll plug it into the show, or they just send me a bet and I can read it and their reasoning why. But we're going to start that next week. So look out for that. So if you want to reach out to me and say I have a good pick for next week, definitely do that once you listen to this. But yeah, we're just very, very excited. We have some big plans for the PGA Tour, going to events and stuff this year. That's going to be awesome. But yeah, keep sharing the show around, share it to friends, share it to family. It's pretty awesome. Put it on the Instagram story, however you want to do it. It's pretty great. Follow the Instagram at Twilight9Pod. Make sure to pay attention to the Twilight9 blog, twilight9.com. Pay attention to all that. The personal Instagram is at RileyHamill_ if you want to follow me over there as well. And enjoy the golf this week. No football. There's no football to compete, so there's no reason why you shouldn't watch golf this weekend. The Farmers Insurance. No football. Super Bowl. My boy's back in the Super Bowl. Quick plug for my boy T. But enjoy the golf this weekend, and I will talk to you guys next week. Peace, guys.